have any real personal beef with Diddy, but it's got to go down. The bits are there. I'm a gold miner. I just found some gold.
Your birthday party, am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? I know about them. All right, we're back with Sean. Diddy comes. Is it Diddy today? Because sometimes you're Puffy and sometimes you're Diddy. Or sometimes you're Daddy. What are you today?
I'm so confused today with it, as long as you say it in a nice way.
Joe Rogan just dropped something that ignited the whole discussion, and this time he's exposing the quietness surrounding Ellen DeGeneres. With the Diddy scenario dominating headlines and timelines, people keep asking the same thing. How is nobody connecting the dots that keep surfacing? Because Ellen's name keeps appearing in this discussion, and a lot of people are acting like they don't see it. When Diddy was hit with serious federal charges, the public did what it always does. It started excavating old clips, old interviews, old moments people laughed at back then that land completely different when you replay them through a different filter. And that's where Ellen enters. People started yanking up clips of Ellen and Diddy looking unusually comfortable on her show, laughing, joking, leaning into the party talk like it was innocent.
Going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You know I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late, because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ellen,
now,
were you surprised by the allegations about P. Diddy? Did that surprise you about P. Diddy? He's been on your show many times. Have you been to his parties?
But with the way the conversation has switched, those jokes are getting rewatched like they meant something deeper. Now wait until you hear what Joe Rogan actually said about it. In his perspective, there's a reason people aren't pressing Ellen the way they're pressing others, even though she had Diddy on her show multiple times, and the party talk wasn't just a passing comment. It was on camera, it was casual, and it's now being reinterpreted by viewers as part of a much bigger story. Because when you really think about it, the silence is deafening. And it raises one question. Is this just awkward timing? Or is it the kind of topic nobody wants to go near? And here's where it gets even stranger. Remember when Ellen's show ended after that toxic workplace scandal? That wasn't just a quick headline. It reshaped how people viewed her.
Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Uh-huh.
No, it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, you know, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Then no, I mean the after party.
No, I know about that.
And later, she and Portia relocated to the UK with Ellen, publicly tying that decision to the political climate. But a lot of watchers didn't treat it like a lifestyle move. They treated the timing like a signal. Fair or not, that's how it's being interpreted. Coincidence? Maybe, but the audience doesn't do maybe. And it's why people keep pulling old receipts and asking what really went on backstage. So before we get deeper into the Rogan angle, here's the quick recap of why Ellen even matters in this conversation. Back when BuzzFeed News dropped that report about her show, it blew up her "Be Kind" image overnight. Former staff described an environment with intimidation, problematic allegations, toxic management, and people feeling like they couldn't speak up without consequences.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show, and then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
I guess Diddy just kept people at his houses because he's got multiple houses, and he's just had freak out part. Look at him. Look at Saucy said down. Go, Saucy.
Yeah. No, Saucy's crazy. Have you seen Saucy?
And the part that stuck with the public was the contrast. The brand was kindness, but the story sounded like pressure. The backlash got so heavy that several executive producers were removed, and Ellen addressed it publicly. But the debate never really stopped. Was it just the producers, or was it the culture of the entire show? Ellen's defense was that she didn't know everything happening behind the scenes, and that's where the split happened. Some people accepted it, others didn't. Either way, her reputation took a hit. The show continued for a bit, then ended with Ellen saying it just wasn't challenging anymore. But a lot of people read it differently, like the trust was gone and it never fully came back. So now let's get to what Joe Rogan actually said about Ellen. In the Diddy discussion on his podcast, Rogan talked about how strange it is that for years, so many celebrities openly joked about Diddy's parties like it was a flex. He mentioned people like Ashton Kutcher and others who used to talk about those parties like it was some badge of honor. And then he pointed out the obvious. One of the biggest places those party conversations played out on camera was Ellen's show. Rogan's point was basically this. How did all these famous people orbit those parties for years, talk about them publicly, laugh about them, and claim they saw nothing while the current allegations paint a very different picture? And the reason this hit so hard is because a lot of that party talk wasn't subtle. There was a specific moment from that 2018 interview that people keep replaying. Diddy tells Ellen he invites her to all his parties and she never shows.
I do feel like you may not do that. You're neat though, right? I would imagine your closet is color coordinated. Everything is hung in a certain,
yes.
Right? So you're neat. It's just that you're not the person that puts it back. All right.
Diddy party, but there's a camera that swings around and they go, hey, yo, oh, Odell Beckham. And you see Justin Bieber's head come up from his crotch and he looks in the camera and he's very confused. It's a really disturbing video.
At that time, Puff was the biggest guy in the world. You know, you couldn't even get in his parties. And he was throwing a party and he said, yo, Playboy, this party's $1.5 million. I said, for what? I mean, what are you saying? It costs $1.5 million to throw this party. I said, Puff, I love it. The party's amazing. Yes, the mayor is here and everything. I said, but that's too much. What? I said, you come to my place in LA? I'll throw you a party for $400 that will rival this party. And he got a little mad. He was like, yo, no, I'm known for this shit. Don't front.
Then he says the parties start early, but the real party starts later at midnight on the top floors. And Ellen reacts like she already knows what he means. That's the moment people don't let go of. So let's break down why this matters and why Rogan thinks it's suspicious that Ellen's name barely gets mentioned in the mainstream framing of the story. First, Ellen had Diddy on her show multiple times, and the party talk was a running joke. And then people started pulling older clips too, like that 2002 Conan O'Brien moment where Diddy jokes about needing locks on the doors at his parties. Back then, it sounded like shock humor, but when people replay it now, it doesn't land like a joke anymore. It lands like foreshadowing. And once those clips started circulating again, the question turned into, what did Ellen know, if anything, and why isn't she saying a word? People even resurfaced that old 2016 tweet where Ellen joked and nicknamed Diddy something playful. And then there were moments circulating where she's approached with questions and doesn't engage. Some viewers read her body language as uncomfortable. Others say that's just how anyone would look being ambushed. Either way, it poured more gas on the discussion. If you were close enough to have him on your show multiple times, joke about the party culture on national TV, and react like you know what that means, then people are going to expect you to address it when the conversation turns serious. And the silence from Ellen and a lot of other names is what he finds suspicious at the perception level. But hold up, because there's another layer to this that makes the whole thing even more complicated.
Look at the temple and then look at the...
Let me see Ellen's background. What? Oh, similar. That looks like a building, though. Like
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Is that a building in LA? That might be a building in LA.
Remember the workplace scandal? Some former staff have described a culture where people felt scared to speak up. And a lot of commenters compare that dynamic, fear, power, silence, to how they imagine other celebrity circles operate when someone has influence. That doesn't confirm anything criminal about Ellen, but it helps explain why the parallels keep getting drawn and why the conversation sticks. There are also stories that get repeated in that same context, like accounts from former crew members describing how tense the set felt, or claims about certain guests being kept off the show over personal conflicts. Whether every detail is accurate or not, the pattern people argue about is the same: control, pressure, and silence. And once the public starts seeing a pattern like that, they don't just watch the clips, they reinterpret them. And here's a moment people point to as the sharpest contrast, because it shows how clean someone's public stance can sound right before their own image takes hits. In 2009, after Chris Brown was publicly accused of violence against Rihanna, Ellen put Diddy on the spot on her show about why Chris Brown was even allowed to use his house. And Ellen was speaking like she was taking a hard stand, saying she didn't want any young person thinking it's okay to go back to someone who harmed them. Then later, when workplace allegations around Ellen's own show circulated, former staff were describing toxic behavior and a culture that felt harmful to them. And that's why people call it hypocrisy. Not because it proves anything criminal, but because the contrast is hard to ignore.
This leads me to the perfect thing, because I would like you to clear something up. There's a lot of talk going on with Chris Brown being at your place in Miami, and you arranging Chris and Rihanna getting back together.
And it's my house, and I'm allowed to give my house to whoever I want to give my house to. That's number one. Number two is that I'm the type of person that I don't cast a stone or cast a judgment on anybody. And so if a friend or friends ask me for a favor, then I'm going to be there for a favor.
One moment it's, I'm protecting people. And the next moment, it's, "My own set was allegedly a mess behind the scenes." Now zoom out for a second. There were also reports that Ellen and Portia sold off their Montecito place and moved to rural England, with the move being publicly tied to the political climate. And a lot of viewers instantly took that timing and mashed it into the Diddy conversation. Because while his legal situation was pulling more attention, everyone was watching which celebrity names stayed silent and which ones didn't. And this is where the rabbit hole gets even darker, because the crowd doesn't just watch, it invents. At one point, rumors started flying that Ellen had serious legal issues connected to her former DJ Steven Twitch boss, who passed away in late 2022, and that some kind of recording was supposedly played in court. Fact-checkers shut that claim down as false, but what's revealing is how fast it spread anyway, because people weren't asking, "Is this true?" First, they were asking, "Does this fit the storyline?" And with Ellen's reputation already damaged, her name became a magnet for anything that sounds shocking, especially if it can be attached to a bigger Hollywood darkness narrative. And that's the risk with moments like this. A rumor can travel faster than reality. But the distrust is real, and that's why these stories don't die. Even in her Netflix special For Your Approval, Ellen addressed being pushed out of show business and joked about it, basically admitting the "Be Kind Girl Wasn't Kind" headline became her identity.
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last. I decided to take up gardening. I got chickens. Let me see what else I can tell you about that. It's been going on. Oh, yeah, I got kicked out of show.
But what some people focused on wasn't even the joke. It was the tone, the way she talked about ego, exposure, and how loud the hate gets compared to the love. She said, "There are such extremes in this business. People either love you and idolize you or they hate you, and those people somehow are louder." And a lot of listeners didn't hear that as accountability. They heard it as deflection, like someone still processing the fallout, not someone trying to fully own it. Then you had another viral moment that shows how far this has been taken. Aaron Rodgers went on Joe Rogan's podcast and tried to compare Ellen's old talk show set to Epstein Island because of similar-looking architecture. Rogan shut it down fast, saying it looked like a building in LA and was probably coincidence. But the fact that it even came up tells you where Ellen's reputation sits right now. People are trying to place her on the same conspiracy map they use for the worst names in modern history. Not because that's proven, but because the internet loves a storyline that feels cinematic. So what is everyone saying about all this? Let's look at the reactions and listen to the pattern, not just the insults. One person said, "Ellen knew and is living in England while Diddy is tied up in a federal case." Others said, "Rogan is the only one saying what everyone's thinking," and asked why certain names get dragged while other names seem to get a softer edit. And then you get the body language takes. Clips of Ellen not engaging with questions, with people calling it guilty looking. Again, that's not proof, that's perception.
Right. Just, so you have, if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave. Right. Gotta keep them there. Right. You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
But perception is what drives these comment wars. And you see a repeating theme in the replies. Toxic workplace headlines, an apology people didn't find satisfying, a move overseas that the audience treats like a signal, and then the Diddy conversation getting louder, all stitched together into one narrative. That's the engine of this whole story. People feel like Ellen never really paid a price, so they're looking for a bigger explanation. Remember the question from the beginning. Why does it feel like nobody wants to talk about Ellen in this conversation? Here's the answer a lot of people land on. They think she's handled differently. Not officially, not in a court way, but in a she's still Ellen DeGeneres way. Connections, money, relationships, influence, and the ability to shape a narrative even after stepping away from TV. But what's changing is this. People like Joe Rogan don't play by the same social rules. They'll say the quiet part out loud, not as a verdict, but as a question. And once a huge platform treats something like a valid question, the audience runs with it. The real controversy isn't Ellen is worse than Diddy. That's a reckless leap. The controversy is, why do some names get interrogated nonstop while other names get handled differently? Even when the clips exist, even when the quotes exist, even when the optics look messy. And that's why this keeps circulating, because the Diddy situation triggered a rewind. Old interviews get replayed, old jokes get relabeled, and suddenly people aren't just watching entertainment, they're watching for patterns. So what's next for Ellen? Honestly, probably quiet life. Unless someone comes forward with real, verifiable evidence tying her to anything illegal, not vibes, not theories, not body language, she'll likely be remembered more for the toxic workplace era and the cold reputation than anything connected to Diddy. As for Diddy, the legal fight doesn't just disappear. There are appeals, there are filings, there are civil battles, and there's a nonstop echo that keeps pulling more names into the conversation whether they belong there or not. So, what do you think about all this? Do you think Ellen knew more than she ever admitted? Or is this just the internet doing what it always does, turning old clips into a storyline? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns of celebrity drama that mainstream coverage tiptoes around, check out the other videos on the channel.